37 seconds ago, Jamie Raskin opened a classified folder marked with red stripes so deliberately that every camera in the House Intelligence Committee chamber zoomed in to capture the moment. Inside that folder was a document that would expose the most dangerous intelligence cover-up since Watergate, a systematic deletion of classified Iran threat assessments that FBI Director Kash Patel ordered, destroyed 48 hours before an unauthorized military strike that nearly triggered World War III. But that's not what made Patel's face drain of color in 3 visible seconds captured by C-SPAN's main camera. What made his hands start trembling was the second document Raskin pulled from the folder, an internal FBI memo bearing Patel's personal signature authorizing the permanent classification of 23 intelligence reports that directly contradicted the White House's justification for military action against Iranian targets. The hearing was scheduled as routine oversight, annual counterterrorism briefings, standard operational updates. Kash Patel arrived at 10:34 a.m., flanked by 3 FBI attorneys whose briefcases contained prepared responses to every anticipated question about domestic threats, cyber operations, standard bureaucratic theater. The first 90 minutes proceeded exactly as scripted. Republican members praised Patel's leadership, cited terrorism prevention statistics, commended his hardline stance on foreign threats. Democratic members pressed on civil liberties concerns, questioned surveillance protocols, challenged controversial reassignments of career intelligence officers. Patel deflected each inquiry with bureaucratic precision, citing ongoing investigations, invoking classification protocols, maintaining that calm, measured tone designed to reveal nothing while appearing transparent. At 12:07 p.m., Chairman Adam Schiff recognized Representative Jamie Raskin for his questioning time. The room's energy shifted immediately because Raskin doesn't bring folders to hearings unless those folders contain career-ending evidence. The red-striped classification markings were visible from the press gallery. Patel saw them, his eyes tracking to the folder for exactly 2 seconds before returning to Raskin's face, and trained observers could see the micro-expression of concern flash across his features. "Director Patel," Raskin began, his voice carrying that distinctive prosecutorial precision. "I want to discuss FBI intelligence assessments regarding Iranian military capabilities, specifically those produced between January 15th and January 22nd of this year." Patel's left hand moved to adjust his tie, a self-soothing gesture indicating psychological stress. "Congressman, the FBI maintains rigorous intelligence analysis protocols, and we coordinate closely with all relevant agencies on matters of national security." Raskin opened his folder with theatrical slowness. "Excellent, because I have some questions about why certain intelligence assessments never reach the relevant agencies." The trap was being set, and Patel didn't see it coming. "Are you familiar with Intelligence Assessment IRN 2026-4047 dated January 18th? Patel's face showed controlled neutrality. "Congressman, without seeing the specific document, I cannot comment on individual classified assessments." "Let me refresh your memory," Raskin said, holding up a document with FBI letterhead and classification stamps clearly visible. "This is an intelligence assessment produced by your own Iran analysis unit. Subject line, Iranian missile defense capabilities, revised threat assessment." He began reading, his voice clear and precise. Quote, "Based on updated satellite imagery and signals intelligence, Iranian air defense systems demonstrate significantly greater capability than previously assessed. Surface-to-air missile installations at Natanz and Isfahan show advanced radar integration, suggesting strike operations carry substantial risk of catastrophic losses. Any military action without comprehensive suppression of enemy air defenses would likely result in significant U.S. casualties. Assessment confidence level, high." Signed by FBI Senior Intelligence Analyst Dr. Sarah Chen, approved for immediate distribution to National Security Council and Department of Defense. End quote. The room went completely silent. Raskin continued, "This assessment was completed on January 18th at 4:47 p.m. According to FBI transmission logs, it should have been delivered to the White House Situation Room within 2 hours. But it wasn't, was it, Director Patel? Patel's face showed the first visible sign of genuine concern. Congressman, intelligence distribution involves complex review processes that require verification before. I'm not asking about the process, Raskin interrupted sharply. I'm asking why this assessment warning of catastrophic casualties was never delivered to the decision-makers who authorized military strikes against those exact facilities 3 days later. The impact was devastating. Patel's mouth opened, then closed. His attorneys leaned forward urgently. One of them, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes, began writing a note. But Raskin wasn't finished. Let me show you what happened to that intelligence assessment. He pulled out a second document. This is FBI Data Management Report DM-26-1847, dated January 19th, 1 day after that threat assessment was completed. Quote, per direct authorization from FBI Director Kash Patel, Intelligence Assessment IRN 2026-447 has been flagged for immediate reclassification from secret to top secret JA SCI with special compartmented access restrictions. Distribution has been recalled from NSC delivery queue and placed in director-level review hold, authorized by FBI Dear KP at 0723 hours, end quote. Patel's face went visibly pale, the color draining so dramatically that even journalists in the back row could see it. His hands, resting on the witness table, began to tremble slightly. 7:23 in the morning, Raskin said, his voice rising with controlled fury. You personally blocked an intelligence assessment warning of catastrophic casualties from reaching the White House 40 hours before military strikes were launched. Director Patel, that assessment predicted exactly what happened. 4 F-18s were hit by Iranian air defenses. 12 American pilots were killed, and you made sure the people who ordered those strikes never saw the intelligence that could have stopped them. The chamber erupted. Journalists typing frantically, committee members exchanging stunned looks, Republican members trying to process what they were hearing. Patel sat frozen, his breathing visibly rapid, his face glistening with perspiration under the committee room lights. Congressman, Patel finally managed, his voice barely steady. Intelligence classification decisions involve multiple factors including source protection, operational security, and... Stop. Raskin's voice cut through like a blade. Don't talk to me about source protection when 12 pilots are dead because you buried the intelligence that could have saved them. He pulled out a third document, and this one was the kill shot. This is an email sent by your own Iran Analysis Unit Chief on January 19th at 8:15 a.m., 52 minutes after you blocked that assessment. Quote, Director Patel, I am formally documenting my strong objection to the reclassification and distribution hold placed on IRN 2026-447. This assessment contains critical threat information that directly impacts pending military operations. Delaying its delivery to decision-makers violates our fundamental intelligence mission and places American lives at risk. I request immediate reversal of this decision. Dr. Michael Torres, Chief, Iran Analysis Unit, end quote. Raskin leaned forward, his voice cold. Your own intelligence chief warned you that blocking this assessment would place American lives at risk. You did it anyway, and 12 pilots died. So I'm going to ask you directly, Director Patel, who told you to bury that intelligence? Who ordered you to make sure the White House never saw the assessment that warned against those strikes? Complete silence. 22 seconds of absolute silence. In congressional hearings, 22 seconds is an eternity. It's a confession without words. Patel's hands were trembling visibly now, clasped together on the table. His face had gone from pale to ashen. His lawyers were frantically whispering, but Patel seemed unable to process anything, his eyes fixed on Raskin with an expression combining shock, panic, and terrible realization. But Raskin had more. He pulled out document after document, each one more damaging than the last. Intelligence Assessment IRN 2026-449, warning that proposed strike timing coincided with Iranian military exercises, increasing defensive readiness. Blocked by Patel. Intelligence Assessment IRN 2026-453, identifying specific radar installations that would detect incoming aircraft, blocked by Patel. Intelligence Assessment IRN 2026-457, projecting casualty estimates for various strike scenarios. Blocked by Patel. 23 intelligence assessments, Raskin said, holding up a summary sheet. 23 separate warnings about Iranian defensive capabilities, strike risks, casualty projections, all produced by career FBI intelligence analysts, all blocked from reaching decision-makers by you personally. And then, 48 hours after you buried the last assessment, the strikes were launched. 12 pilots never came home. He pulled out one final document, and this one changed everything. Director Patel, this is White House visitor log data from January 17th, the day before that first intelligence assessment was completed. According to this official record, you met with White House Chief of Staff at 6:30 p.m. The meeting lasted 47 minutes. What did you discuss in that meeting, Director? Did someone tell you that intelligence assessments warning against military strikes would be politically inconvenient? Did someone instruct you to make those assessments disappear? Patel's lawyer stood abruptly. Congressman, my client cannot discuss privileged executive branch communications. Raskin's voice carried barely contained rage. 12 dead pilots aren't privileged communications, counselor. 12 families who will never see their loved ones again aren't executive privilege. This is obstruction of intelligence that directly led to American casualties. Let me tell you what I think happened, Raskin continued. The White House wanted military strikes against Iran. They wanted them fast, they wanted them dramatic, and they wanted them before anyone could raise objections. But your own intelligence analysts were producing assessments that said those strikes were too dangerous, that Iranian defenses were too strong, that Americans would die, so someone told you to make those assessments disappear. And you did. You buried 23 intelligence reports. You silenced your own analysts, and when the strikes went forward without that intelligence, 12 pilots paid the price for your cover-up. The chamber was in chaos now, members shouting questions, journalists rushing for phones, cameras capturing every angle of Patel's complete breakdown. His face contorted, his hands shaking, unable to provide any coherent response. I move, Raskin said, his voice cutting through the noise, that this committee immediately subpoena all FBI intelligence assessments related to Iran produced between January 1st and January 25th, all communications between Director Patel and White House officials, and all records regarding the classification and distribution of intelligence assessments during this period. Within minutes, the footage went viral. Patel's trembling hands, his drained face, his complete inability to explain why he buried intelligence that could have prevented 12 deaths. News networks interrupted programming. Legal experts called it potential criminal obstruction. Military families demanded answers. And somewhere in FBI headquarters, career intelligence officers who had been silenced finally saw someone fighting for the truth they tried to deliver. Sometimes accountability requires a prosecutor with a red-striped folder, the patience to build an inescapable trap, and the courage to ask questions that expose the deadliest lies. Jamie Raskin asked those questions. Kash Patel had no answers, and 12 American pilots died because intelligence was buried for political convenience.